All right, moving along to step number 3, the front end. But don't forget that we still need to complete the get and post routes from the back end. So we're going to be working on those as we move along here. All right, to complete the front end, we're going to go into the views folder and we're going to select the index.ejs file. This is our HTML file. So let's create our HTML file. And the first thing we're going to do is link the CSS file. All right, now we want to change the title here. So this is going to say YouTube to MP3 converter. And we are going to use Font Awesome for this project. So let's open up our browser and we're going to search for the Font Awesome CDN. Click on the link by cdnjs.com. And you're going to click on this first link here. And we're going to paste that up here. So we're going to type in link and then Control V. And in the body, we're just going to output anything. We're just going to test to see if this is working. We also want to go into the public folder and open up the style.css file. And let's change the background color of the body to test if this is working correctly as well. All right, let's go back to our server, click refresh. It's not working, and that's because, oh, I completely forgot. All right, so this is complete, but now we got to go into our backend app.js. And instead of sending hello world here, we're going to render the index.ejs file. So let's type in the name of the file, index. And now when we go back over here and click refresh, we're able to see our index.ejs file. And of course, the background color is orange, which means that our CSS file is connected as well. So I'm going to delete that because I was just using that to test it. And I'm going to delete this as well. All right, now I'm going to expand this so we can see what we're doing here a little bit better. And of course, we're going to be completing our front end here. So the first thing we're going to create is a class with a name of top container. And that's because this project has the red piece on the top and the white piece on the bottom. So the top container is going to be the red piece that's going to contain the title, the input field, and then the bottom piece is going to be the one that contains any error messages or the link to download the MP3. All right, and here let's create a form. And we're going to give this an action of convert MP3. And this is going to be a post method. Let's also give this an ID so we can access this with CSS and add some properties in here. All right, now let's add our title. It's going to say YouTube to MP3 converter. And we are going to add the YouTube icon right in front here. So let's open up our browser again and we're going to search for Font Awesome. Let's click on icons and we're going to search for the YouTube icon. So let's click on this one. Let's click on this to copy the HTML and we're going to paste that right in here. Right, now we're going to output a message that says enter the video ID. And right under here, we're going to create our input field so the user can enter the video ID. We're going to add a name in here of video ID so we can access this on the back end. And let's give this a placeholder of video ID. And let's add a button right next to this input field. Don't add a space, that way the input field and the button is right next to each other. So this is going to be the convert button. And let's give this an ID so we can access it with CSS and make it look nice. So this is the convert BTN button. And that should do it for the top container. Right down here, we're going to create the bottom container. And like I said, this is where we're going to output any messages, like any error messages or the link to download the MP3. All right, so we are going to use JavaScript in here to check whether we successfully converted the video into an MP3 or not. So this is where we're going to use the EJS syntax, which works like this. We use 2 angle brackets and then 2 percentage symbols, and we can use JavaScript in here. All right, so in here, we're going to check if the variable that we're sending from the back end to the front end which we're going to give a name of success, is not equal to undefined. And if it's equal to true. If this is true, that means that the video was successfully converted into an MP3, and we can send, or we can give the user the link to download the song. All right, so let's add the code for that in here. We're going to create a class with a name of success, and let's output the name of the song. So we're going to use EJS syntax in here again. To output a variable, you use the equals sign, and we're going to call this variable song title. So we're going to be sending that variable from the backend to the front end, and we also want to send the link so the user can download this song. So let's add the link in here, and we're going to call this variable song link. All right, and here we're going to add a button, and this is going to say download. Let's also give this an ID of download BTN. All right, so that's if this is successful. If it's not successful, then we're going to use an else if in here, and this is going to check if the success variable is not equal to undefined, just like it did in the top. But this one is checking if it's not equal to true. So if it's equal to false, then this is going to happen. All right, so if it's equal to false, then we're going to create a class with a name of errors, and we're simply going to output the error message. All right, and that should do it for the HTML. Let's move on to the CSS file. All right, now that we have the CSS file by itself, we can actually split the screen, and let's open up our browser. Let's refresh this, and you can see our HTML here. Now we're going to add some CSS to make this look nice. I'm just going to copy and paste the code that I had from my original project. That way I don't take too long explaining it, because there's over 150 lines of code in here. Besides, when you get to working with Node.js, you shouldn't need a tutorial on the basics of CSS. You should master that stuff before you get to building a full stack project like this one. And if you need the code for the CSS, I'm gonna leave a link in the description to a code pen so you can just copy and paste it so you can continue to follow along. All right, so here's the code. Now I'm going to refresh this, and this is the application. It's fully responsive, and that's gonna wrap it up for part number 3.